Go on there and go on there. One, two. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonic Talk number 289, live today on Wednesday, the 31st of October, otherwise known as All Hallows Eve. I'll do a quick flash there. There's Mark there in his pumpkin mask. In fact, I'm going to be going back home to finish carving the pumpkin and put the candle in it, so that when Nelly comes back from her her legalised mugging of old ladies for sweets, then she'll have a candle in the pumpkin for her. I want to say, first of all, before we go anywhere else, I just want to say I don't think we have Rich Hilton with us here. Obviously, Rich is on the eastern seaboard of the US. I know there's been a lot of weather over there. Unfortunately, not as extreme as they were sort of painting out to be in the media. At least that's what I understand. So, I mean, not so many fatalities and all that sort of thing, which is, I suppose, a relief. I think Rich has no power. I think a tree came down in his front garden and took him out. But I think he's all right. So, and best wishes to anybody who has friends or family or is there themselves, and I hope everything's going all right for you guys too. But back to more technical aspects, and we will say hello to our say hello to everybody in the chat room first. Actually, chat room. There we go, sonicstate.com/live, 4 p.m. Wednesdays, where you can see the live stream and obviously participate there. And I also want to say Rob from Failed Musos in the chat room. He's the one who organised the Heaven 17 interview I did last night. They played in Bristol yesterday at the O2 Academy, and I went over and did a quick stage tour and a sort of impromptu interview with Martin Ware. Very awesome guy, brilliant, and it was good. They did a really good job of representing a lot of that stuff in a kind of really authentic way, and good job. And I think they've got 3 or 4 more dates on that tour, but if you get a chance, go and check it out, because it's not that there are, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 people in the band, so it's not like a laptop and a keyboard and a bit of vocals. It's actually proper band thing, and the bass player was wicked actually. So jolly good all round. So anyway, let's go to our guests. I think we'll start with you, Dave Spears, who's there in his ever decreasing room. The GeForce Towers has now become a sort of empty cell, which you'll hear, no doubt. Obviously, GeForce Software make fine software instruments, and that probably have you decided to sell all your hardware? Then that's it. Then.
Yeah, we're going everything's soft now. I don't know what's happened. First of all, we've kind of reinvented the laws of physics. I mean, we do that on a daily basis anyway with code, but we got a room to store all the stuff from here in, which is about the same size as this room, if not bigger, and it's full.
Okay, but is that not because it's in boxes and stuff?
Well, yeah, there is.
And you haven't been able to stack it on the keyboard stand, so you've had to they takes up more space.
Yes. All right, found me out.
Oh, sorry. And yeah, everything's been wrapped in kind of 19 inches of bubble wrap as well, so it makes it bigger, right?
No, we just threw it in a skip.
Just tip it in. We loaded the room with a giant shovel. Yeah. Interesting idea. So does this mean you're going to be moving to your new premises very shortly, by the looks of things? Because there's nothing for you here anymore, is there? Clearly.
No, all that's here for me in this room are my screens and my hard drives and my computer, which is over there, but that's it. Everything else is gone. I've taken the kind of bare essentials over to the new place where I will be for 6 months.
So you've gone all minimal, and you're wearing a black polo net. You're sure you're not about to go and work for Apple?
Yeah.
Are you working for Apple?
Weight loss, yeah. After my slating of Apple last week, I thought, well, if you can't beat them, join them.
They phoned you up and said, Dave, we need a dissenting voice.
Yeah,
Would you like
this is amazing. No, I have to say, and I will do this very quickly, so many people have emailed me, either PM'd me in Facebook and emailed me saying how they felt very similarly. That rather than be the scared little mouse I was after opening my big gob last week, I kind of went, wow. In fact, I was reading some out to various people. So, yeah, thank you for all your letters.
Well, YouTube, quite a lot of people on YouTube were saying very much the same thing, where we now post the video of this very event live. But so, Dave, your opinion is always valid. Even though at the time you seemed a little grumpy, you obviously got the zeitgeist. So
I think you were right. I was trying to work a few things out.
Anyway, Dave, thank you very much. And of course, we'll go to Gaz Williams over there in sunny Bristol. Gaz, I was expecting to see you arrive from North Wales. You were with me at the Heaven 17 gig. Very kindly came along as my guest, my +1.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, actually.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was going to go to North Wales. Change of plan. I got some work on there, so that's good.
Hey, excellent. So, well, always glad to have you. At Gaz Goldstar is where you can follow Gaz's tweets even. Website coming soon, but for now you'll just have to make do with 140 characters or less.
Yes, I have got this website. It's so close to being built. In fact, I did it on Wix after Dave's recommendation, and has anybody actually put something up on Wix? You have to pay to get to have a redirection to it, don't you? I think.
I don't know what Wix is.
Oh, I did it.
Oh, you did it. Oh, I thought it was okay with it.
Yeah, but obviously my domain's kind of elsewhere. I just pointed it at.
Oh, okay, great.
But yeah, it seems to work great.
Cool. Okay.
In fact, I tell you what, Tara Bush's hubby has been advertising it loads, Math, on Fastbook. So I'm beginning to think he might have shares in the company. So let's hit him up.
Ah, right. Okay, good plan. There you go.
Okay.
You've thrown me now. You can't both speak at the same time. It's impossible for me to switch that way. I'm coming back anyway. Anyway, Gaz, thanks for joining us, and we'll go to Mr. Well, I don't know if this is Mark Tinley or perhaps the Pumpkin King. It could be Jack. We've got this week.
I don't think I can sustain this for the whole podcast. It's so hot and uncomfortable.
It's fair enough. You've done long enough. Are you going to be leaping up to tar and feather small children that come to the door at periodic times when the doorbell goes, or are you going to?
I'm sure it's playing havoc with the sound quality as well.
It does sound a little boxy.
Okay, I'm coming back into the real world. I've done my bit for Halloween.
Well done.
So far. Oh, hello.
Hello, yeah, Mark Tinley, being
a
sound artist, creative thinker, pumpkin sculptor, and all-round dad. And I've got to go home and do all of that sort of stuff after this. Welcome, and thanks for joining us too.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Right. Okay. Well, that's that. Right. Let's start off. We have stuff to start with, and obviously the first thing that we need to talk about is there's been quite a lot of Ableton Live love. So this is the latest promo for Live 9, which was announced a short while ago, which has several new features. I mean, not everybody is as excited as the video might give you the idea they are. We've got a few new clips, clip automation, recording in session view, and you get automation curves. Woohoo! Woohoo! And sound browsing made easier and faster with a search box and categories, improved studio effects, the glue compressor, which is like an SSL type bus compressor. And actually the most interesting thing I think is pitch to MIDI, which is polyphonic. So you can extract chords and all sorts of stuff from audio stems. I'm guessing that, I don't know if that's a Celemony kind of bought-in thing or whatever, but that is quite exciting in terms of if you're doing a remix and you have absolutely no musical ability. I wish I'd had this when I was doing mixes, particularly for stuff that had too many chords in for me to work out. Max for Live, MIDI transform tools, and a load of new sounds included in the suite. So who wants to go first then? Gaz, I know you were quite excited by this whole Live 9 thing, so you're raring to go. So what do you say?
Well, I think obviously almost the launch of 9 has been overshadowed a little bit by the launch, or rather the announcement of the push.
The push interface, yes. This is I could play that now actually. Shall I play that one now and then we can comment together on both of them, or do you want to should we break it up into bits? So
I kind of think it is the togetherness really that's the exciting thing actually.
Well, let me just come to Dave first. He's obviously the developer, the voice of the developer. Do you know much about what's being Dave, Ableton Live 9? I mean, presumably, being on the developer's grapevine, you probably knew roughly what was coming. I mean, is there any reason why it's not more? There's not more to it, or do we expect too much from an iteration like this?
I'm not sure what I can and can't answer. I'm firmly ensconced in the 8.5 for 64-bit beta. So to be honest, I was kind of surprised that 9 wasn't 64-bit. So it's kind of passed me by, with the exception of the MIDI side of things, the pitch to MIDI.
That's quite an interesting concept, isn't it?
Yeah, which I've kind of been wanting for. I mean, there is a brilliant one in Logic, but obviously it's monophonic. And I remember like early, maybe mid-90s or something, the Digital Performer guys were kind of talking, there will be a reliable polyphonic pitch to MIDI audio converter, which of course I was kind of desperate for at the time. So yeah, I really, really want to try this out. But
well, I've got some examples here actually. If I just quickly pop this in, I found this. If you go scroll down the page on the What's New in 9, this is capture guitar chords and use them with a synth. This is audio demo. I mean, I don't know how much tweaking's going on here. This one I particularly like. Beatbox your drum loop. Ready? Woohoo! I mean, that sort of stuff. Cool. I mean, that's obviously we don't know what's been going on to make that demo work as well as it can, but pretty impressive stuff. I mean, I like the idea of being able to mumble into something and have it arrange into beautiful sounding music for me. Do you think that's really likely, though?
I have witnessed it, certainly monophonically. I've witnessed it with a few pretty well-known producers and stuff who just kind of go, idea, and they will hum something. And, sometimes I've kind of had, obviously I've done it in Logic, like I say, and sometimes I have to kind of muck around with the timing and dynamics in particular. That's usually where it kind of falls down. But it's this idea of doing it polyphonically in the same way, with Melodyne DNA, that you can dissect a polyphonic part and change it. For me, it's almost as exciting in MIDI because you've got a gazillion options in MIDI.
It's a great idea, isn't it? No, Mark, or should I say, I'm not quite sure what you are now. You look a bit like some kind of scary spider type thing. Pitch to MIDI, interesting?
Yeah, always. Definitely interesting. And something I've used in Logic for years and years and years. And if they can make it do what that guitar was doing, that's always interesting. I mean, not that I've already got a MIDI guitar anyway, and actually you wouldn't catch me in a million years playing chords like that. But
too jazzy.
It is interesting that it can do it. So if it could take the keyboard player that I was working with's chords and he was playing chords like that, and then I could get the MIDI notes so I could change them to chords.
Get rid of those ninths, yeah. Sorry. You have a ninth filter.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind ninths. There was something else happening in there. I'm sure, although that's the area of music that Rich Hilton loves, and I absolutely can't go anywhere near.
Right. Interesting stuff, though. And before I come to Gaz, obviously the big news is this push interface, which is engineered by Akai and designed by Ableton, I think. So if I press that video, this is the sort of interesting aspect of it. And it does look incredibly beautiful, and I'm sort of guessing that it's a very well-kept secret, actually. There's 64 backlit pads, stroke buttons, different colours, so you can kind of configure it in any way you want. Yes, somebody says it's not a very good song. I would agree. The thing that bugged me about it is that bass drum being out of time throughout the whole of that clip. It's drove me a bit nuts, but I won't go on about it. But this looks pretty impressive. It's kind of in the machine territory, but with so many more buttons and controls. And it's sort of, it does remind me a little bit of like one of those touchscreen tills that you get at McDonald's, which I'm not sure whether that's necessarily so good. But here we go. There's the bass drum. Oh well, I won't go on about it, but yeah, you can see play with expression, pressure sensitive, and it's got these little touch strips at the side and all sorts of things. I won't play it all because you can look at that at your own leisure. But Gaz, you were particularly excited by this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a long time user of Ableton Live since 2002, and I've always been quite excited with any of the updates and stuff, and I was really interested to see which way they were going to go, and I think with the dual launch of both the Push and 9 at the same time, I thought it was quite interesting. Partly, I thought that 9 initially was a bit underwhelming, as you mentioned, and the pitch to MIDI stuff accepted. That not a huge amount of great stuff going on there, but I think that the push is obviously what they've been really kind of putting a lot of their effort into.
Yeah, it almost seems like 9 is irrelevant, but push is the big deal.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to the website, the push is very much pushed at you,
front and center.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we look at the push and we see its heritage is a combination of the APC 40 and Native Instruments machine. It's very much a hybrid between those two products, plus a whole bunch of other things as well. Now, I got a machine a few months ago, which I've mentioned before, and I've been enjoying it. But I must admit, I've kept hitting the same problem, that actually trying to integrate it into my workflow, I've been finding it really difficult. I can do it to a certain degree, but I find that I just keep finding that if I want to start to get into kind of the sequencing aspect of it, the machine really, that's where you kind of hit the limit of the machine. You can sequence to a degree, but you can't sequence in the way that I want to be able to sequence. And I kept thinking, I've been trying to work out a system of making the machine work within Ableton Live, and using my Cuneo, I've been trying to sort of get and actually using my pad controls. So I got all 3 controllers set out in front of me, and effectively what I realized what I've been trying to do is make a push, really.
Right.
So when I saw the push, I was like, oh, that is actually perfect, because I've kind of realized that is exactly what it is that I've been looking for. Consequently, I'm thinking, I'm going to put my machine on eBay, I think, as much as I like it. Yeah.
Well, I would say that before, we did get a look at the MPC Renaissance, if you're into kind of something that will do a lot and enhance your workflow. And assuming you dig the way that workflow is, it's worth looking at as well, just to sort of, in the sense about, I mean, the thing that I found about the whole notion of push, I mean, it looks delicious and all of those things, but, I saw there was another presentation where one of the chaps was sort of talking about the modal diatonic fourths, and you're just thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, excuse my French, it's just like, I'm a keyboard player, right? I don't really care. I mean, a grid of 64 buttons means nothing to me at all. And I'm not going to learn another way of playing those notes. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
No,
but I need to rant, because that square format doesn't make any sense musically, but a grid of 64 buttons in the format of the see-through music Axis 64 makes perfect sense, because music does work in fourths and fifths, and when you start to stick stuff in hexagons and then do that whole weird layout that they've got, you come up with some amazing and completely different ways of writing and making music, and I can't see how you could do that in squares. It doesn't make any sense.
I disagree.
Really?
Completely. Yeah, I mean, I find it very, very interesting, and I was telling Nick about this yesterday. I've been doing it with my Cuneo, because the Cuneo.
Oh, we just lost you.
My Cuneo, I videos.
You're going, Gaz. You're not. Your bandwidth is.
Oh.
Try again.
Okay, so I've mapped out on my Cuneo the 64 notes, and I've been playing things. And where I find it quite interesting is I really like coming up with patterns. So you kind of come up with, and I've been drawing them on paper rather than writing chords out or writing music in a traditional sense. I draw like a little star, and then a little box, and then by following that as a little map, I find it a really interesting way of composing music. And I really like the way that it makes you think in a different way, and that you approach the notes in a different way.
Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose the thing is I'm looking at it and I'm just going, I'd really like to be able to use it to its fullest, but I don't have the time to learn a completely new way of inputting music. So it feels like most of what this offers, I'm already my mind is closed to, which is my own fault, admittedly, but I mean, as a keyboard player who's bothered to learn, I'm not a trained keyboard player or anything, but it's the way I've learned how to program stuff in, and that's just the way I work. And having to move against that, it means that when I look at it, it's like, oh no, all of these instinctive things is like, I know that F sharp is my hi hat. I look at a bank of pads, and I have to double take to make sure I know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm being a bit too kind of entrenched, but I'm sure I'm not the only person who's going to feel that way.
I think it's an interesting point. That is cool.
Is that Mark? Hold on, let me get that. That's Mark. Yeah, that's the sort of what's the name of that thing?
That's called hex keys.
Yeah, there is a controller, isn't there, that does that in hardware, which I've forgotten what it's called. But
that's the see-through music.
That's right. Yes,
MIDI
that's
control. It. But this is so immediately obvious, Nick. I think you would. I mean,
partly, but partly, Mark, because it's got the note. It's got the notes written on it for a start.
Okay, even if it didn't, though, the musical relationships are either going this way, or this way, or this way, or that way. Right. So you're just thinking like 30 degrees, 45 degrees, or 90 degrees. And if you go wandering off in that direction, it literally plays a musical kind of intervals going in one direction, or musical intervals going in this direction, all make perfect logical sense.
Right.
And when you hit 3 keys together, you get different relationships between fourths, fifths, sevenths.
Yeah, I like the way that it was for playing triads. That looked kind of interesting, definitely. But I suppose I'm just thinking, can I be bothered? I don't know. Dave, you haven't said a word, and I'm suspecting you must have an opinion on this. I mean, it looks like something lovely that I'd like to have on my desk. Like it's like the idea of a Wacom tablet, isn't it? When they come out, I want one of those. That'd be great. And then you put it there, and basically it just gets less and less use until finally it's just covered in teacups and kind of business cards and your sandwich crumbs and stuff. I mean, is this in danger of it starts high and then just kind of, or do you think this has got more going for it?
I think it was interesting. I mean, I see both sides on this. I like alternative controllers because they do open up things, and you either don't think about them and something happens, or you have to consider them and again something happens. But I understand what you're saying in terms of frustration. I mean, to me I'd have to feel this, really. I think for me that would be the key. If it felt good for that price, and the fact that it's kind of bespoke for live, I think it stands a very good chance of working.
I'm just sort of seeing if I can find the information about it. I think it looks like it's push 499 when bought with standard or light, and I think 6 something or other when with sort of suite, or 7 something. I haven't got the prices there. That's really dumb, isn't it? I thought.
Yeah, did I see a 499 on its own or something?
Let me see. I think it might be down here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. If I come here, I can, 499 on its own.
Yeah.
778 coming with live standard, and €1,000 when with live 9 suite. There we go.
For 499, if you've already got live and you take that out of the box and you plug it in and it works, and all of a sudden it opens up new horizons, that's $499 very well spent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm willing to be persuaded. I would love to see it in the flesh and obviously play with it. I suppose looking at it, I'm just sort of thinking, a new. It's like, but I'm very impatient when it comes to stuff like that. It's like I'm not really interested in platform computer games either or anything like that, because I just cannot be bothered to spend all that time figuring out how to get over the wall and then have to do it again when I can't make it. It's the same sort of principle to me, I suppose. I'm just probably a bit lazy.
The acid test for me would be to put it in front of Darren Price and just go, right, go on then, because he's a live endorser and obviously endorsed the machine thing.
Yeah.
So that for me would be the real acid test. Okay, how'd you get on?
Yeah.
Because I think for me, it's like I've got like a workflow, and I know that I could just adapt that workflow to the machine. To the push. And I'm frustrated with the machine because it's really not geared for like a live instrument. If I wanted to plug a guitar and you can sample into the machine, but if I wanted to just use the machine like a live looper, now it's quite appealing, isn't it, to be able to sort of sample yourself into every one of those squares and then just sort of have it, have them instantly loop back, like a kind of loop machine. And you can't really do that in Machine. You can, but it involves having to go through a bunch of. You'd have to go into the sample page, and then from the sample page, once you've put a recording in, you've got to come out of the sample page. You've then got to kind of set the envelope. You've got to navigate through till you find the envelope page where you set it to a one shot. You then got to navigate out and set it maybe to be the gap.
I get it. Yeah, not particularly.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of all of those things when you're kind of in the flow. Now, the way I like to work is I've got all my guitars and I've got all my keyboards and everything is kind of always ready to go. That's the way I like to work, and I like to just grab something and I want to be able to put it in there, and I want to kind of keep this kind of like rolling workflow going on. And like the Machine, that's where it kind of. If the Machine had like a live looping mode, I'd be really great, but because it doesn't, that's its kind of deal breaker for me. So
well, once again, when we get the MPC Renaissance video up, you should look at that, because that's very much geared around just keeping it going. And Andy Mack, who came down and demoed it, was did a great job of showing us like, okay, I get it. What is it that that is so good about this? And that's something that I think is worth looking at. But again, I think it's a specific way of working, and the one thing about that is just the way that you can do some amazing things with creating very highly processed and individually tweaked drum sounds and patterns with a lot of processing going on, and create some amazing stuff, and then incorporate VSTs and all that other nonsense into it as well. So impressive.
I would say a little tip that I've just been doing with the Machine, though, which I've been having incredible fun with, and I highly recommend it, is to download Soundflower if you're using a Mac, and then route the output of YouTube into your Machine. And what I've been doing is I've been just doing thinking random words off the top of my head, putting it into YouTube, and then just sampling the first result, and then just doing that into each of the squares. And it's just best fun.
That sounds like one of those kind of obscure Danish filmmaking schools type approach.
Oh, honestly, it's brilliant. Because I was thinking about that. When you're looking for samples in the past, say you wanted a sample of some obscure thing, and then it was always quite tricky. But now being able to sample off YouTube, just a sample, I don't know, if you're just sampling a sound effect, what's the legality of that then? Does that open up another subject?
Well, it might do, but that's something perhaps we'll come back to after a word from our sponsors, perhaps. But yes, some copyright and that side of things, yes, because I know Mark's got an interesting story. But in the meantime, we'll say thank you very much to the show sponsors. Of course, Yamaha are continued sponsors of the show, which I will let. There we go. And want to say thank you very much to them for continuing to sponsor the show. What they've got to offer you is a whole world of apps. On the iOS platform, they've got 20 applications. At the time of this ad was written, actually, there's even more now. You've got all sorts of performance and playing type of things with keyboard and ARP and drum pad. In fact, there's a synth ARP and drum pad now. That's a new edition, which has built-in synth engine as well. There's performance and play with faders and XY pad for controlling your Yamaha synthesizers. You can control the performance of the Motif XF, Mox, S90X, S70XS, Motif XS and Rack XS. You've got voice edit with XY pad and the ability to then mix and match and affect the performances. Multi-edit, similar stuff going on. You've got the balance of all the parts, EQ and effects for the individual parts, so you can start to work on the balance of your performances. Performance edit, again, just tons and tons of ways of interfacing with your existing Yamaha keyboards, but there are lots of other apps as well. One thing that we really looked at that I enjoyed, Setlist Organizer, which is like a kind of a MIDI program change control panel, which allows you to send bank and MIDI control and MIDI program changes to up to 5 devices, 5 per section, with notes and photographs and things. For if you're running a set, you can have lyric reminders and what have you. Just a whole world of apps. Go check them out at the App Store or go to uk.yamaha.com for more information about the whole Yamaha thing. Right, thank you very much. Again, we say thank you to Yamaha for the continued sponsor of the show. Yes, you brought up an interesting point there about sampling random things from YouTube. And it's funny you should say YouTube, obviously, because I know that Mark had an interesting story about this week. But yes, I don't know what the legality is. I mean, it really is very much down to whatever YouTube wants, really, because they're blatantly in charge. Are they not, Mark?
They are. I'll tell you my interesting story. Well, I've told you, but I'll tell everybody else. So I went to Glastonbury, and I was at the top of Glastonbury Tor with my son sitting in the the thing. You know, what is it called? The
tour.
Abbey, the top of the tour. Is it on
think
top
so.
of the tour? There's a building, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in there, and these three women came in, and they were all kind of chuckling away to themselves, and they were going like, "Right, go on, are we going to sing then?" And they started sort of singing, and then they said, "Oh, it's a shame," and I think it was like Dad or something isn't here, because he'll never believe we did this. So I said, "Well, I'll tell you what," because I was sitting opposite them. I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll film you and I'll put it on YouTube, and then I'll email you the link." And they were like, "Oh, really? Thank you very much," and all that. So I did that, and YouTube have contacted me and basically said, do I have the rights to the music? And all they were literally doing was going ah and e and doing like a kind of a no stroke kind of singing thing and doing some little harmonies and stuff. So it's not like it's not even a tune or anything, but because they've identified it as a clip that has music in it, they won't let me monetize it. And they want me to send them proof that I have the music rights to it, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
How would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, if I go on YouTube and I find one of my records, because I've made lots of records in the past, so that there's all sorts of my records all over YouTube, which some DJ's gone, "Oh, yeah, I remember this tune, I'll just spin that." And so there's a picture of the record going round.
Yeah, me too. Everywhere.
And my tune, and I think, well, maybe I should report that. So if you and I did actually think about reporting one, went through the reporting process. It's absolutely impossible. It's impossible to report it. You have so many forms to fill in, and I'm not even sure if I could prove that I have the rights to my own musical content, let alone three women singing at the top of Glastonbury tour. But it is bizarre, isn't it? Bizarre.
It is really bizarre, and the thing is people rip our videos and put them on YouTube, and there's a channel which just basically takes a lot of our stuff from the trade shows, which doesn't go up on YouTube, and sticks them up there. And I've written to them and said, look, guys, it's not really cool. It's our stuff. It costs us a lot of money to make. We choose not to put this particular video on YouTube for a reason, nothing. And I thought, oh, I'll tell you what, I'll go through the process and see if I could do anything about it. And I agree. I just thought, oh, you know what? It's just I can't be bothered. I really can't be bothered. And they make it, but the further you get up the food chain, the easier it gets. I mean, like now we've got a partner status, so we've sort of said, don't worry, we own all our stuff. And so we don't, because there's music in loads of our reviews.
Is the key...
They don't check it.
And they don't check it because I guess we're partners now. But they do check the podcast, because if there's something up here that they recognise that their content recognition system will do, it'll just trigger a claim. Sorry, Dave, carry on.
No, it was just...
I was just going to say, there's no way their content recognition system has recognised anything in the clip that I've put up, though. I mean, it's not really... I mean, it's musical in the fact that somebody's actually holding a note, but that's about it.
It does seem a bit weird. Yeah, I don't really understand. I mean,
I wonder whether the key here is monetizing it, because we don't do any of that stuff, and I've never had any communication, and I've included audio that I've got permission from the publisher to use in various videos.
Yeah,
so
I think monetizing is the key.
I monetized this one, though. I'm pretty sure I didn't monetize it because I just did it for them as a favor, and I felt that it would be sort of inappropriate to monetize.
But it may be that your default setting is to be monetized, because that's something that may be the case, and you've got to physically not do it.
I bet that's it.
Yeah, it could be, because then they've got to make sure that their advertisers who are paying them are not going to sue them for getting attached to a video that's gone viral that has questionable copyright, I suppose. It's a good point.
Maybe it's still overly, it's just, I don't know.
It does, yeah. I mean, that whole thing is a bit bizarre. It is a bit bizarre, but I think the monetization is quite possibly the key to it, from what I can get.
I've been accused in the chat room of looking like Stan Laurel, and they're suggesting that maybe you take on the role of Oliver Hardy.
If I had a bowler hat, I'd put it on.
I'm not sure if any of this is flattering.
A bowler hat and a tie, I would, and a moustache.
It's gone a bit that way.
Yeah, has a bit. But interesting stuff. Anyway, the push thing, I think it's another one of those kind of controllers that everybody's going to want a piece of. And the fact that it's got 64 knobs on it, 64 buttons on it rather, is very interesting in its own right. I mean, there's a lot of control. It's all pressure sensitive. Looks very sexy, actually. But it is... I think it's going to be quite a challenge to master it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Gaz?
Oh, sorry. It's just the black. Just wondered just how bright the I think they look like they're backlit as well in some way, don't they?
They are. I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, since there was a change at the in the press department at Ableton, and we no longer have a contact with them. And I would love for someone to get in touch if there's going to be anybody going out on the road and demonstrating this thing. I'd like them to come and see us so that we can film something as well. Because, I mean, I'd really like to ask a lot of those questions and see what it can do. Because I mean, it does look. Like a lovely piece of hardware, whether or not it fits, my immediate requirements myself. I
don't know if it's new to Nine, but something I noticed in the video that you sent out is that the whole thing about recording controllers, and I like the way that you could create a song and you could record your controllers in your song. Then when you've finished creating your song, you can deconstruct your song back into patterns so that you can perform it live. And that just seems like a brilliant idea. Because once you've made something linear from start to end and turned it into a song, you're kind of stuck in that, aren't you? But if you can just kind of press a button and it just pulls it back out into chunks and then you can skip around between that, I think that's brilliant.
You've been able to do that for a while in Ableton. You just make make a time selection and you click on it, hold down tab, and then it'll take just the parts that are selected and you can drop that then into the session view. Which is really really cool thing to do.
Well,
now it takes the difference is it takes any automation prior to that. Any automation, if you were dragging it from the arrangement view into the session view, it would just ignore the automation too. But now it
takes it with you. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, the finer points of this will obviously come out in the wash as it becomes available and people kind of start to see it. I mean, there is another very interesting project which I want to also show, which is the Stephen Slate Raven. What's it called? Raven MTX, I think it is. If I play this, you'll be able to see a little bit of this action. This is a very interesting new machine from Stephen Slate. Produces these kind of large production consoles. And this Stephen Slate himself shouting really rather loudly at the camera for some reason. I'm not quite sure. But what he's built here is a 47-inch
and economically
touchscreen. If I just kind of try and
featuring the Raven software, which includes a powerful multi-touch mixer that can control all major DAWs and a flexible, user-customizable multi-function toolbar. The Raven also incorporates a full-featured analog monitor section designed for today's audio engineer with multiple speaker outs, multiple input sources, smartphone connectivity, USB ports, multiple headphone sends and cue options, and much more. But at the heart of the Raven MTX is the most important thing of all, your DAW, right at your fingertips.
Wow, it's on the surface of it, it looks like possibly a really bonkers idea. But actually, when you see the way that it's working in terms of when you bring some of the plug-in windows across, because it's sort of magnified at 47-inch touchscreen, they become almost the same size as the physical things, and the ability to then sort of control them, it really sort of almost the same size as a physical desk. It's a really interesting idea. I have no idea how much it's going to be, but I suspect it will be a lot. I mean, Stephen Slate in the Pro Tooler blog commented on a thread there, was saying that obviously if you think in my opinion it's progress. The old Pro way, 24-track tape machine, large format analog console, outboard EQs and processors, expense from $500,000 to $1 million or more. The new way, Pro Tools HD system with 16 IO and a Raven console under 50 grand. So presumably the 50 grand is incorporates a healthy chunk. The Raven will incorporate a healthy chunk of that. But it's a very bold statement, and I wonder how effective it's going to be. I mean, it's a very interesting idea. Gaz, what do you think?
It depends how responsive the touchscreen is. In the video, when he was touching on the things, it looked a little bit laggy. And I think that if there was any lag, well, I guess it's going to be a degree of lag, but the success of it would be how responsive it was. If it was really responsive, and if you could kind of, if the screen was zooming in and out, and when you were touching it, it was really responsive, I think it would be amazing. I mean, I really think it would be absolutely amazing. If it's laggy at all, and I mean, this is the problem I had with Aurea on the iPad, or certainly on my iPad 2, that when if there's a little bit of lag, it makes that sort of working process really frustrating. It makes it actually, for me, it's like a kind of feel thing. I love Ableton Live because it's so slick and so fast, and there's no lag at all when I'm working on there. As soon as there's some sort of lag, and it's just, I'm just overshooting a little bit, and then I'm undershooting, and it's just because of the lag. I know you get used to it to a certain degree. That if it's nice and if it's really responsive, then I think it's a winner. If it's not, I think it's a loser.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine that he'd have gone to all that trouble and make it impossible to use. I mean, it does look. One thing that what does it said in the chat room? It was, imagine how long that would blah 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 blah. It's got a whole. Oh gosh, Echosonic says in the chat room. What about cleaning the fingerprints off it is going to be a bit just keeping it clean is going to be a bit of a nightmare. But there were some other comments in various other threads, which was, imagine working that way, holding your arms out for that long, 3 or 4 hours, is going to really build up your biceps, your quads. It's not the same thing physically. But I'm guessing he spent a lot of time. And the thing about Stephen Slate's products is they are very much geared around a sort of production workflow. And I think he's just sort of fixated on making workflow work better. So I'm sure a lot of these questions he's probably already answered himself. I don't know, Mark, what do you think?
They just jump in, though, for
sorry.
All I was going to say, on that kind of fingerprint thing, and to do with workflow, because of the size of it, I reckon if they put a little tray along the bottom, you could make it like a big urinal as well, and then you'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, maybe you could. Just chuck drinks over it every half an hour to sort of wipe off the fingerprints. I don't know. Yes, it does look. There's something. I mean, it's the design and the way that it's been put together does look really good, and looks like if I go to here, you can see pretty much what it looks. I mean, well, you can't quite see what it looks like, but you can see that there's. It doesn't seem like I can move that. That's a bit annoying. It's in the wrong place. I wonder if I can just do that. You can see that there's. Oops, no, it's all gone wrong. There we go. There's a desktop underneath. It looks like there's obviously a Mac in there somewhere. What sort of Mac? I don't know. Whether it's just a screen attached to the door that your Mac's running, whether this is another layer, because it's obviously got an interpretation layer, because you've got all this low stuff, this configurable control panel below that gives you all these sort of buttons and what have you, like a master section, and macros that you can do and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think it looks really fascinating, and I agree. It would be interesting to see how it works. I mean, Dave Spears, when back in the day before things like Wacom tablets and touchscreens came along, we were almost willing this stuff to happen, weren't we? And now it's actually here. Do we actually really want it?
I don't know. I think Gaz summed it up really with it really all comes down to how speedy this is, because almost every time I've tried to use anything like this, if there's any lag, it's true, you just kind of get completely disinterested. And that's, right from tiny little keyboard. What was the first keyboards? I think they were Yamaha, weren't they? They had the kind of touch sensitive screens, pressure sensitive screens and stuff. I was confused by this, I have to say, because I could quite clearly see Pro Tools behind it. When he pulled up the waveforms, I could see the channel strips, and then you could see various folders. So there obviously is something in there, and this is some kind of front end that interfaces with.
Yeah, it's a layer. It's an interpretation layer for the touchscreen. Definitely. I mean, it interfaces directly with your door. I mean, that is the point. It just it features Raven Mixer, which is a powerful multi-touch mixer that can control all major doors with a flexible and user-customized multi-function toolbar. So it's an additional layer basically that interfaces with a multi-touch screen, right?
Okay,
so yes,
that makes more sense.
it's not a standalone piece of software for a door. It sits as an interpretation layer, presumably, but geared around a touchscreen of that size, basically.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it gives a whole new meaning to when you're on the road, there are people who are referred to as white glovers who never actually lift anything at all, never give anyone a hand and just kind of come round and do that. I think this would give a whole new meaning to that term, because it would get filthy. My nipper, every time she uses even the bloody telly remote control, it just ends up like sticky and full of like sweet stuff. Same with the iPad, same with the laptop trackpad. It's stuff like this. Can you imagine a load of disgusting old sound engineers? It could be a
Their
nightmare.
secretions.
I can think of
Yeah.
all sorts of powders that wouldn't disappear down the gap between the fader, though. And wouldn't it be fantastic for certain?
That's it.
Certain
That's-
studio-based activities, you mean?
That's the bit where he says a revolutionary product.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. I mean, I think if it works sort of a bit like the iPad, which we're all getting more and more familiar with, and it can bring that iPad-style touchscreen technology into the computing kind of digital audio workstation world, and marry those two technologies together and give us access to doing things in both kind of ways, it could be a winner. But Gaz is absolutely right. It's totally going to be down to lag. If it's laggy, it's just going to be.
Well, he does actually talk a lot about using latest technology and like really kind of trying to nail that as best as possible. And so, give them benefit of the doubt for now. I mean, it's just been the AES in San Francisco. Presumably there will be reports coming back of people who've actually had their hands on it and will know a bit more about it. Unfortunately, we couldn't go because it's just so ridiculously expensive to go to San Francisco this time of year. But, I mean, the other thing, obviously, you're looking at a screen that size, and it is your desktop, you'd be in the middle of a mix and you could just if you've got someone there, you could actually just pop your Facebook page up there or do a massive video. So get the A&R person, their head that size in front of you, so you can have a video conference with them. It's all sorts of other possibilities to use the screen for within a studio environment. So it's quite
And it needs a joystick, definitely.
A joystick.
Yeah, for like Pac-Man or something like that.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got some kind of a ball on the front of it, so you could probably.
There's a trackball, yeah. That's a track. There's a trackball there, but it also incorporates a lot of monitoring, and he's very big on bringing USB into the computer, playback, and monitoring paths. It's got 4 different speaker outputs, headphone mixes for up to 8 things. And I'm sure it'll do Angry Birds as well. It'll do everything. But that's what's quite interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure a 47-inch touchscreen without all of that stuff around it is going to set you back a fairly tidy amount of cash, because especially multi-touch is going to be extremely costly. So I'm guessing it's not going to be under, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand. I mean, that is complete conjecture, though. I mean, I couldn't possibly.
At least I would think.
You would think at least, but I mean, the software side of it, presumably, once that's done, then if the technology then catches up and you can work like that very well, then it's going to work. And the other thing that's quite interesting about this is, as we've said with the touch screen in the past, when you're using that touch paradigm and say something on the iPad, say Aura, where they've really gone for the sort of DAW, but on a smaller screen that's actually fiddlier to use because of the screen real estate. With something like this, there's so much screen real estate and so much resolution that you could actually, you can use that paradigm because there's so much of it, perhaps. So that's quite that's what's bold about it, I suppose.
Yeah, I like it.
Even our USB controllers are laggy, aren't they? So if we can get used to turning a knob and there being a bit of a delay, if you can grab hold of lots of different things all at once and do things.
I think you do multiple faders. I mean, the thing that was quite interesting is you can set macros, you can set, and there's a little, I don't know if you can see here in the, oh no, that's not that one at all, it's this one. There are those 4 yellow knobs, buttons in the center of the screen, and then a little sort of oblong area, which is also like a virtual trackpad. So you can use that to mouse around in the main. So so they've obviously thought about it to quite a degree. So I mean, I really would like to try one out. I guess I'm going to have to wait till NAMM before I get to see one, but we'll see. I mean, but I suppose the thing is, it's the first of its kind. I mean, because we've seen these bespoke studio controllers before in hardware, which are just giant MIDI controllers. I forget the name. There was a French or German company that made these beautiful things, but they were just,
really
but
big.
I mean, if you were really clever, you could integrate that touchscreen technology. I mean, you could have an iPad built into it, sitting in the background running iOS, and you could have your Mac built into it, sitting in the background running Mac software, and you could have a PC built into it, sitting in the back running your PC software. And the trick would be to design some kind of software interface that controlled everything. So you could just open a window, bring up your iPad, do something in one of your iPad programs, close the window, open up SoundForge on the PC, do something in that, close that, open up something in the Mac, and just kind of work in all of those environments all at the same time.
Well, the best way, I mean, presumably the best way to do that would be to, rather than have a virtualization, which is going to slow things down unless you've got a supercomputer, is to have picture-in-picture going on a touchscreen.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be an interesting idea. So you can have... That would be an interesting idea.
So that your experience of using it was that you were using one device, but actually there was lots of clever stuff going on in the background that allowed you access to Mac devices, PC devices, iOS devices, or whatever else you chose to put in there. So it really was just a controller that made the whole experience of using it appear as if it was one device.
Yes, I think that's a pretty good idea. Maybe that's something that he's sort of working towards, because I mean, he doesn't hang around. I mean, pretty much every time there's a major trade show, there's something fairly big from Stephen Slate. So he seems like he's got the sort of one of those lives that we'd all like to have, whereas we just come up with loads of ideas and we have a team of devoted people that we can afford to pay, just making them so. Isn't that great? You know, and then he's obviously the front guy and has got a lot of presentational skills and works at sort of some of the higher pop productions. So he's got ins at various lots of places. So, you know, lucky bloke is all I could say. Right, next. Why is he shouting? Oh, that was that. Oh, this... what's the time? It's 5 o'clock. Well, we've got Moog Minotaur version 2, which I know Rich wanted to get involved in, so maybe we could save that until he's here. Perhaps we could have a look at the 5 megabyte hard disk in 1956. That was... in fact, I have got a video which I forgot to put into the system, but maybe what I can do is... maybe did I? No, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Let's see if I can get this one going. So if I bring this one up, and I might be able to make that a little bit bigger. It's a bit loud, that. Let me turn that down. This is partly what you were talking about, Mark. You sent this in. This is brilliant. So this is, well, just wait and see. Early 1950s IBM presentational promotion video for the latest and current in computer processing.
Random access method of accounting and control. Another business service of tomorrow made possible today by IBM. Companies have long dreamed of an accounting system capable in a single operation of...
I know I have. What about you, Dave?
RAMAC is that dream come true, processing with amazing speed unrelated data.
It's brilliant. I won't play the whole thing, but there's basically this image here was the one that you sent, Mark, which was what looks like the back of a Mellotron being loaded into a jet aircraft, and you said, what is it? And it is, in fact, the... what was it called? It's called the IBM RAMAC 305 system. It's a 350 disk storage system, and it was 5 megabyte hard drive right there, which is just just brilliant, isn't it, when you think about it? So it stores 5 million instructions on random access, and it's just such a beautiful picture of being craned into an aircraft without any kind of padding or anything going on, which looks a bit disturbing, really, there. You think that they'd want to take better care of it. I found out a little bit more about it. Let me see. There were some interesting facts and figures, which were... It was leased for $3,200 a month for the full system with the processing. That's back in 1956.
Wow.
Which makes it worth about a purchase price of about $160,000. More than 1,000 systems were built. Production ended in 1961, and it's this is basically one of those topics where we get to go, blimey, you don't know how lucky you are. Have you seen the price of eggs? You know, all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's brilliant. Where did you find that one, Mark? It just
one
appealed.
of my friends sent it to me. It just said, "What do you think this is?" And I sat there and I played the game and pondered over it for ages and ages and ages. And then it said, "Scroll down," and I scrolled down and went, "Wow!"
I thought it was a Leslie to begin with, and I was wondering why it was being loaded into an aircraft. And
I mean, if you think about the photograph on the JPEG's probably like half a megabyte, isn't it? So. It's just incomprehensible, really. The
Yeah,
whole
so
thing.
that's really quite amusing when you think the picture that of that would have taken up I don't know 5% of the storage of that entire hard drive. That's pretty bizarre concept to think of. I don't know, Dave. You're the one with the room full of drives. I'm suspecting that this kind of technology sort of appeals to you. I mean, have you not considered collecting some of this old stuff? Would data coming off this kind of thing not sound better somehow?
Well, it'd be more retro for starters, wouldn't it? No, I was really fascinated by this. I didn't cheat. I did stare at it for a good 10 minutes thinking, what could it be? What could that circular thing be in the middle? I thought it was some kind of tape playing device, like you say, a Tron of some sort. And then when I scrolled down, it was the 5 whole megabytes that I just thought, that actually, for 56, that's amazing, isn't it? Really?
It's a fairly monstrous, yeah. I mean,
There was quite a moment, though, for me, because I was kind of obsessed growing up in the 70s by TV programs like UFO and stuff like that, all that kind of, where they had those walls of computers with the spinning magnetic tape things that would, and I kind of always wanted to convert my parents' garage into, like one of the walls so that it would look like a fake version of something that was in UFO. And then I suddenly, and as I was lugging stuff out of here, I thought,
that's what you've got.
Kind of happened, didn't it? Yeah. In a sort of not so fake way. There's just tons of 70s gear going out of here. But yeah, no, brilliant. And in fact, it led me on to look at, and I kept the link up, it's the Ramak story, which was searching San Jose, which was a brilliant kind of 11-minute film. Great old footage of San Jose, pre-1970. Stunning.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, when you consider all of this has happened in, 60 years, it's pretty astonishing, isn't it?
Robugs is my favourite person. He said, "You are Ed Straker, Dave." Thank you very much, Robugs.
Yeah, we don't know how lucky we are. Sorry?
That thing would store 30 seconds of CD quality audio, but it would probably take you half an hour to get it off there, right?
But the servos on the head moved really fast, didn't they?
They're cool, though, aren't they? The whole thing was cool. I love the woman in the red dress as well. She kind of opens the drawer and it's full of wires. I mean, that's fabulous. In that film.
You've got to check the video out. I think I might be able to scroll to another part in it where you can see a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. That's her sitting, and it's just all the stuff going on behind the scenes. It can read cards up to 100 a minute. It's just, I mean,
it's like a sort of Mad Men geek fest, isn't it?
It is. It's brilliant. A piece of its time. Absolutely brilliant. Hold on.
But there's a brilliant.
There's the head.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah. When you see that whipping around, it was amazing.
Let's see. Oh, there it goes. Let's play a bit.
Of input and output units. In disk storage.
No, I can't get any more out of that. That's just one of those things that's just not going to happen, unfortunately. There was a couple of other topics that I would really like to get to, but I think as it's Halloween, I've got to get back and start carving the pumpkin and doing all the preparation and getting myself made up to scare children as they come to the door, or at least black out the windows so that they and make sure that everybody's below the level of the windowsill so nobody can see that we're in. I can't decide which way to go yet, either to participate or not participate. We'll see. So I think maybe this might be a time to stop, though. There were some other interesting topics that I would love to get to. We'll have to wait till next week, I think, for that one. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, my triumvirate of participants from all over the place. Mark, your hair has gone very non-Stan Laurel now. You've gone back to sort of more of a traditional... No, I take it all back. No, it hasn't. It's just gone smooth down a bit. Mark, thank you very much for joining us. There you are, likebeing.com. That's where you do your thing. And I hope you have a great week.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And an enjoyable Halloween. Don't eat too much chocolate.
Oh, no, I'm going to.
Oh, all right. Eat as much as you can possibly manage. Fair enough. And, of course, we got Gaz Williams over there in Bristol, at Gaz Goldstar. There is his little moniker there, where he's a bass player, producer, engineer, very accomplished tech person, all sorts of things, presenter. In fact, Gaz, if you want to see, Gaz has just done the Sonus Wahoo Wah pedal review for us, which is now online. I put it online today. And... So yes, please do check it out.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's great piece of kit.
Anyway, thank you very much, Gaz. I'll speak to you very soon. And finally, we'll go over to Dave Spears in his forlorn, empty room. But I'm sure, are you going to be going to your plush new room now? Have you got like somebody on the door and things like that, like you get in serviced offices?
No, get out of here. No. I'm not doing offices anymore. Oh, I didn't tell you about that whole saga. I will, but I'll do that privately. No, I didn't take that office in the end. I've moved somewhere else.
Right.
In the middle of the country, and I've got a basic setup, but it's a lovely room and it's a lovely view, and I'll have a window, and there you go.
Brilliant. Oh, that sounds nice. Can you walk to work?
No, unfortunately not. So my bills will be going up on the old gas front.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Pain in the arse. Yeah, I think we've just had our first trick-or-treaters. And I heard Louise going, now then. And I think that scared him away.
Don't. Let's not go there. Right, Dave and the team, thank you ever so much for joining us. That was Sonic Talk number 289 this Halloween. I feel like I'd probably, I don't think I've got any reverb or anything. I was going to maybe do a scary laugh to go out, but I don't think I'll bother. I'll just say Happy Halloween. Very good. Gaz can do it for us. Thank you very much. Okay, that was Sonic Talk number 289. Thank you very much, everybody.